Okay, for this next activity in Illustrator, we are going to work on recreating this little robot here. So you can create this robot using the shapes that we just learned in the previous activity. All this robot is comprised of are rounded rectangles, circles, and triangles. So you should be able to to recreate this just fine using the skills that you already have. Okay, so I'm going to help you with the robot's head, and then I'm going to let you work on the rest of the robot on your own. All right, so let's get started. I'm going to zoom in on this outline of the robot. I have this one here for our reference if we need it. I'm going to hit Control plus on my keyboard to zoom in, and I'm going to press and hold the space bar so I can pan around my document. We've talked about that, I think, in passing a little bit, but that is kind of a handy little tool to have in your back pocket to navigate your way around your document. So again, I'm pressing and holding my space bar until I get that hand cursor, and then the hand, if you click and hold your mouse button, kind of drags your document, or it will grab onto your document and you can drag it around. So I'm just going to zoom in, kind of center that in my window, and now I'm good to go. So I'm essentially going to start at the top of my robot and work my way down. Oops. Sorry, I'm just going to undo that. So Control Z to undo. Okay, so I'm going to start up here with this circle. These group of shapes up here at the top are the same ones that we created in the previous activity. So we're just going to recreate them here for this activity. So I'm going to choose my ellipse tool from my tool panel. And I'm going to come over here and I'm going to hold down the shift key as I click and drag out a circle so that it stays a perfect circle and doesn't get flattened. Now I'm going to press and hold the space bar as I have my shift key and my mouse button pressed, and I'll put that in the right spot. So right about there, again, you can always move that after you're done creating the shape. So the next thing I need to do now, working my way down, is the triangle. Again, we can create that using the polygon tool or the star tool. For this, we'll use the polygon tool again. I'm going to make mine off to the side so that I can see it a little bit clearly, or more clearly. So I'm just going to click and drag out, holding down now my shift key so that my bottom line stays straight horizontal. And there we go. So mine again made a triangle. If yours didn't, you can, I'm having a hard time mousing over my little widget, like I can find it sometimes. If you need to, you can zoom in. If you Control plus and zoom in, that way you can see everything a little bit bigger, and it'll be easier to grab that little widget and pull it up to get your triangle instead of a polygon that has more sides. Okay, so there's my triangle. I'm going to reshape it just a little bit. I think I need to bring that down just a touch. Now I'm going to move it into position. Whoops, I made it too small, so I'm going to increase the size again, and there I go. I need to nudge it over maybe just a little bit. So on my keyboard, I'm going to press the right arrow button. That nudges it maybe a little bit too much. Maybe I just need to make it a little bit wider. So it's a little bit of trial and error. It should be pretty close to what I have here for your outlines, but it doesn't need to be exactly perfect. Okay, so the next thing I need to do, keep moving down the line, my rectangle tool. I need my rectangle tool, and I'm just going to draw out this rectangle again, just like that. Press and hold the space bar so I can slide it over just a little bit, and now I'll draw that out, and perfect, there we go. So for this one now, I'm going to grab my selection tool, so I can either hit V on my keyboard or come up here and just hit the black arrow button. I'm going to come back down here. I'm going to press and hold the Alt button until I get those double arrows, and I'm going to click and drag that down. Just, again, that other way to create a copy of something. So I'm just going to resize my rectangle, and there we are. So now that I have those shapes created, if you'll notice over here, those are an exact copy of these top three shapes. So actually what I'm going to do is, using my selection tool, I'm going to click and drag out a selection around just these top three shapes. So I want to grab just those three top ones. I don't, however, I'm going to show you what I don't want to do. I'm going to undo this, so Control Z to undo. Oops. Sorry, I undid a few too many steps, so I'm going to redo those two. So again, you can get to undo here, right up here, edit, undo, or edit, redo. So those options are up there too. You can also do the keyboard shortcuts. But what I don't want to do is I don't want to select all four of these shapes. If I do that, I'm just copying this extra rectangle that I don't need. I'm just going to click over here to undo that selection. Now I'm going to reselect just the 3 shapes that I want, which are those 3 right here. Using my selection tool, I'm going to hold down the Alt button till I see those arrows, and I'm going to click and drag that over to the side here. So I'd click and drag that over. It's the size and the shape that I need. Now I just need to rotate it 90 degrees. So what I can do is I can click and rotate here, holding down my shift key so that it constrains it to 45-degree increments. So I can do that. Sorry, my mouse pad was getting in the way, and that would be good. So that's one way to rotate that. So I'll put that one there. I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm going to hold down the Alt key, and I'm going to drag another copy over here. So holding the Alt key, click and drag over here. So that's in the right spot. I just need to rotate it around. I can also go to Object, Transform, and Rotate. And in there, I have options for rotating that. So what I could do is I can click and drag that around and rotate it 180 degrees, and that would be where I need it to be. I could also have typed 180 in this little box right here. Hit OK, and there we go. Now we rotated everything, and we're good to go. Okay, so my next step, I can either build the face from the front backwards or the back frontwards. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to start out with the objects that are closest to me. So I'm going to start with the ones that should be in the front. So I'm going to start with actually this little tiny circle right here. And to create that little circle, let's just zoom out here. I'm going to hit Control- to zoom out. And then I'm going to pan up to see this other one. So if you notice, this is a little white circle inside of a bigger kind of reddish circle. So that's what I'm going to do down here. So I'm going to zoom back in, Control+ to zoom back in, and holding down the space bar, I'm going to pan over just a little bit. So I'm going to start with this white circle right here. So again, white circle, I'm going to choose the ellipse tool to create my white circle. My fill color is set to white, so I'm still good here. I'm going to hold down the Shift key and drag out a circle approximately the size that I need. So there is my white circle. Perfect. I'm going to kind of reset things by choosing my select tool and just clicking on anywhere else in the document. Now what I'm going to do, I still have my ellipse tool as the shape selected. Now I'm going to click and drag out a circle again while I hold the Shift key. I need that circle to be a different color, however, for this one. I need that circle to be the color of this red right here. So what I can do is I can grab my eyedropper tool and I can just click on this red area. So now you can see that I can't see that little white circle anymore. All I see is that red circle, and that's just because of the layering of, or the order of my layers. So I'm going to come over here to my layers. You can also access that by going to Layers right here. And now I'm going to expand these. And now I can see that red circle that I just made. That's that one right there. So all I need to do is move that down below the layer that was right below it. Now my red circle is below my little white circle. So that's exactly what I need. It's hard to tell that that's there, but it is there. And it will be more evident once we get our rounded rectangle in the background for that face. The other thing that I want to show you real quick while we're doing this is how to align these. So right now I have that white circle inside of the red circle, but it's not in the exact right spot. So what I need to do is I have my selection tool. So again, the black arrow. I'm going to click on that bigger red arrow. I'm going to click on that bigger red circle. And now I'm going to press and hold the Shift key and click on the inner white circle. So now I have both of those things selected and nothing else. Now I'm going to come up here. I'm going to make sure I have Align to Selection selected. And now I'm just going to click on this little horizontal align center and the vertical align center. So now my circle should be exactly in the right position. So they're both centered on the same exact spot. So that's exactly what I need. And now while they're both selected, I'm going to press and hold the Alt button and drag out a copy of that. So instead of recreating the eyes in 2 different spots, I'm just copying them. Okay, so my next step now, I have the face made except for that rounded rectangle. I'm going to come up here, choose the rectangle tool, and now I'm just going to, sorry, I'm going to reset everything just so that nothing is selected. I'm going to choose the selection tool. I'll just click out here to get everything kind of reset. I'm going to choose the rectangle tool, but I need to change this. This needs to be white, so I'm going to double click on my little swatch right here and choose white. I'll hit that, and good. So now I'm just going to click and drag out a rectangle to the approximate size that I need. Again, I can always resize that or reshape it if I need to. And now I'm going to use those widgets to just kind of pull in the corners. So I'll pull in the corners to somewhere around there. That's good. Now I need to just reorder everything. I'm going to kind of reset real quick using my selection tool. So all I did was select my selection tool, click in my artboard somewhere, and there, I'm good to go. So this one, this top layer right now is actually my rectangle. That's the one I need to move that below my circles that are the eyeballs. So if I click and drag that down, now the face is below the eyes, and that's exactly what I need. Okay, so now your job is to finish this robot by making all of the shapes that are necessary for the rest of his body. If you have any questions, let me know.